Rudolf Steiner and Peter Deunov. Book Review. Anti-Savanainen, Harrie Salman. Rudolf Steiner and Peter Deunov. Anthroposophy and the White Brotherhood on the New Man. LogoSophia. Introduction. Harrie Salman has a Ph.D. in philosophy. He was born in the Netherlands and has taught philosophy in the University of Leiden and University of Prague. He encountered the work of Rudolf Steiner more than 50 years ago. Salman has also been keenly interested in the teachings of the Bulgarian magus Peter Deunov, also known as Deunov, for over 30 years. Salman speaks and writes German, Bulgarian, and many other languages as well, so he can read the teachings of both spiritual teachers in the original languages. Preparation for their missions. Salman presents the biographies of both Steiner and Deunov in the first part of the book. This is done with insight, and he provides perspectives and details that will be of interest even to someone with a good acquaintance with Steiner's life, as well as, I suspect, with Deunov's. Both Steiner and Deunov experienced turning points in their lives at the age of 19. Steiner met the herbalist and healer Felix Kogowski, which led to a contact with the Master Jesus. Later on, Steiner was inspired by Christian Rosenkreutz, another master of esoteric Christianity. Deunov fell seriously ill at age of 19, which led him to dedicate his life to following the Christ. Salman interprets Steiner's and Deunov's spiritual experiences in the light of initiation. Steiner started studying natural sciences and philosophy in Vienna, and he became a Goethe specialist at an early age. Steiner's lecture on Goethe as the father of a new aesthetics in 1888 was important because a remark made by a Catholic priest on Thomas Aquinas afterward awakened Steiner's memory of a previous life as the medieval theologian. During this time, Steiner read his first book on Theosophy, a piece in its esoteric Buddhism, but it didn't impress him, both in his theosophical phase and in his anthroposophical phase. Steiner talked and wrote a great deal about the laws and conditions of the spiritual world, but he spoke very sparingly about his spiritual experiences. In his unfinished autobiography, The Course of My Life, he discloses that at the turn of the 20th century, he faced the mystery of Golgotha in a most inward celebration of knowledge. Salman discusses Steiner's tensions with Theosophy and its leaders. Steiner was the general secretary of the German section of the Theosophical Society, and had great respect for the masters Kuthumi and Moria, who had inspired the founders of the society. However, Steiner broke with the Theosophical Society in 1913 over a number of issues, including its proclamation of the young Jiddu Krishnamurti as a vehicle for the coming world teacher, a view later repudiated by Krishnamurti himself in his famous 1929 speech, Truth is a Pathless Land. Steiner's interpretation of the Theosophical Society's co-founder H.P. Blavatsky in his anthroposophic phase is odd, even contradictory. Readers might be interested in Steiner's indications that H.P.B. was under occult imprisonment by some Indian occultists even after her death. Steiner freed her, and after that Blavatsky became Steiner's disciple. To put it mildly, not many Theosophists are likely to agree with this view. Deunov started his spiritual preparation first by studying to become a pastor in the Methodist Church and later by studying theology in Boston, Massachusetts. As a result of his spiritual experience in 1897, he strongly believed that it was his mission to be a teacher for all mankind, a world teacher. In 1898, Deunov received a message from the angel Elohim, the national spirit of Bulgaria, a call to my people, Bulgarian sons of the Slavic family. The message urged the Bulgarians to wake up and turn away from the evil path, to repent and develop pure virtues. On Steiner's and Deunov's spiritual work. Steiner was an incredibly prolific lecturer. Among other things, he gave over 6,000 lectures. His spiritual science inspired many practical applications, such as eurythmy, Waldorf schools, anthroposophic medicine, biodynamic farming, and the sacramental Christian community. Steiner told Walter Johann Stein in 1920 that his mission was reincarnation and karma, as well as the social task. The latter was evident in his commitment to a threefold social order, but this initiative failed in the post-war Germany of the early 1920s. From Steiner's abundant lectures on Christianity and the mystery of Golgotha, one might add that esoteric Christianity was part of his central mission, which had deep connection with understanding of reincarnation and karma. Steiner had wanted to talk more about karma but felt that his audience in the theosophical phase was not receptive to this. He finally started his lecture cycles on karma in 1924. Steiner revealed past lives of many people he knew and also those of people known to history. As we have seen, he believed that he was a reincarnation of Thomas Aquinas. He also believed he was a reincarnation of Aristotle. Steiner also said that his teacher of German literature, Carl Julius Schroer, was Plato's reincarnation, and Schroer's father was a reincarnation of Socrates. These revelations are somewhat puzzling. Even if they were true, it is not easy to see how they would foster deeper understanding of how karma works in practice. In 1924, Steiner founded his new Esoteric School. The old Esoteric School was closed when the First World War broke out in 1914. Steiner intended the new Esoteric School to have 3 classes, but he had time to open only the first class before passing away in March 1925. The first class is still active within the Anthroposophical Society in many countries. Steiner called it a Michael School, working under the inspiration of Archangel Michael. Deunov founded his esoteric school, the White Brotherhood, in 1922 and guided it for 22 years until his death in 1944. Deunov provided the following explanation of the purpose of his school. In this school you will become acquainted with the methods and laws with which the White Brothers rule over nature. We are now founding this mystical occult school. However, the danger is that occult knowledge may be used for achievement of personal ends. This is why you need to cultivate the upright and steadfast morality of love, wisdom, and truth. In this great school of Christ, you will find the true methods of the new life your souls are seeking. Deunov gave his esoteric lectures at every Wednesday at 5 a.m. in the fall and winter until the end of his life. His disciplines wrote articles, performed tasks, and did exercises provided by Deunov. The school had 3 classes. The most advanced disciples formed the inner circle. Deunov's followers maintained that his internal school still exists and is led by him from the invisible world. Deunov used music in his lectures, and he composed over 170 pieces of music, which he played on his violin. He developed sacred dances, which he called panorhythmy. He advocated a healthy lifestyle, which involved drinking hot water, breathing exercises, singing, and meditation. Deunov spoke only once about his past incarnations. He told his disciples that he had been their teacher in ancient India and Egypt and in the 10th century among the Bogomils. He occasionally addressed karma from the point of view of humanity and individuals. For instance, he gave a practice for developing karmic awareness. When one meets a beggar on the street, one should examine whether one feels a karmic connection with the beggar. If so, one should have a conversation with the beggar and give him or her all the money one is carrying at that moment. Deunov spoke about occult powers and chakras cautiously and reluctantly. Instead, he said, "I give you love, as for knowledge, you must seek elsewhere." Salman mentions that Deunov recommended Steiner's books for those who are seeking spiritual knowledge. Some points of contact. Both Deunov and Steiner talked about the second coming of Christ. According to Steiner, this would take place on the etheric plane starting in the year 1933, whereas Deunov taught that it would take place rhythmically in phases, starting from 1914. Like Steiner, Deunov did not mean that the second coming would mean a physical incarnation or return of Jesus Christ. Steiner spoke of the connection between the head and heart, claiming that thinking with the heart will happen in a new etheric organ near the physical heart. Deunov also addressed the relationship between mind and heart in his lectures. According to Deunov, there is intelligence in the heart, which has to influence the mind. Steiner's spiritual path starts with developing thinking and senses. For Deunov, acquisition of virtues is central, such as faith, hope, love, humility, purity, unselfishness, gentleness, and courage. The Bulgarian Boyanbov was a disciple of both Steiner and Deunov. He followed Steiner's lectures in Munich in 1908 and asked for admission to Steiner's esoteric school. Steiner told Bove that he would find his spiritual teacher in Bulgaria, which took place in 1912. However, Bove also remained a member of the Anthroposophical Society. According to Salman's sources, Deunov told Bove that he and Steiner knew each other from the spiritual world and that the White Brotherhood assigned Steiner the task to give a spiritual impulse to Western European culture to save it from a final collapse. Final words. Harrie Salman is an independent researcher of spiritual philosophy and esoteric Christianity. He succeeds very well in presenting Steiner's and Deunov's biographies and main teachings. The reader is rewarded with many insights into the thinking of these two spiritual teachers. I recommend it heartily to anyone interested in spiritual science and the practice of spiritual life.